Hey Hilltoppers, Miss Hans here. So good to see you for another round of art class. I'm so excited to see you today because we get to make some super cool winter cityscapes. Ooh, oh my god, so cool, right? So we're going to learn a little bit about some artists who have made cityscapes, and then we'll get to make our own. So you will need markers! Yay! A Sharpie! Don't draw a mustache on your brother or sister. You will need watercolor paints. Mine have a tissue in them. That's why they look weird. The tissue helps soak up wet paint. And crayons. So Sharpie, markers, paint, and crayons. First off, let's learn a little bit about, talk right, Miss Hans, a little bit about our artists for this week. I'm going to make myself a little smaller. I'm shrinking. Oh my gosh. Save me. Now I'm going to show you some cool pictures. Drum roll, please. Ah, cities and art. Yay. So we're going to be talking about some artists who have made cityscapes. Cityscapes are pictures of cities, not just one building, but a lot of buildings. Before we learned about landscapes, these are cityscapes. James Rizzi made cartoony, fun cityscapes with goofy little cartoon faces in New York City. Tyree Guyton is an artist from Detroit who actually doesn't make pictures of buildings. He paints on the buildings. Super cool. Faith Ringgold paints pictures of New York City on quilts. That's right. You heard me right. Quilts. She would paint stories about her childhood. That's why you can see some writing on this quilt here. She would tell stories. Bernice Abbott was a photographer in New York City and took very interesting photographs at wild angles, either pointing way up and looking at the building or being way up herself and looking down at the city. Romare Bearden made collages. That means he cut out pieces of paper and glued them down. His collages would have tinfoil, magazine cutouts, sandpaper, gum wrappers, all kinds of interesting types of papers to make his collage cityscapes. And James Gulliver Hancock is an Australian artist who draws his cityscapes. He just uses a pen and ink with a little bit of watercolor. He's got a really cool book called Every Building in New York, where he really tried to draw every building in New York City. So today, we're going to make our own cityscapes, but because we live in Minnesota where it's cold and it snows, ours are going to be snowy cityscapes. So let me switch over to my camera here and angle you this way so you can see me even while you're watching my hands. So let's start our own cityscape. The first thing you're going to need is your Sharpie. Remember, don't give yourself a mustache. I don't think your parents would like you to already have facial hair. So let's start along the ground. We're going to make a slightly wavy line, not too wavy, kind of looks like piles of snow. Then we're going to make our buildings, but our buildings are going to have a little bit of snow on the top. So I'm going to start by making my first building. It'll be rectangular shaped, but the roof will be a little wavy. And then the wall will come down on the side. That way it looks like there's a pile of snow on the top of that building. For our next building, let's make it a little different. Let's make this one a little taller, maybe a little skinnier. When you make each building a little bit different, it makes the picture more exciting. For this snow, I'm going to have it kind of dip over the edge, slightly wavy, dip over the edge there. Piles of snow on the top of our buildings. For the next one, I'm going to make it shorter. Start with that snowy roof. Notice how I kind of curve it off the end so it looks like that snow is kind of hanging over. For this next building, I think I want it to be really wide. And if your snow piles are a little crooked or a little lopsided, that's okay because that's kind of actually how real snow looks when it's piled on top of a building. Sometimes it's a big pile, sometimes it's a little pile. And if we go right off the edge of the page, that's fine too. So now we're going to do my favorite part of this picture, which is the windows and doors. That's where we can really add some fun detail. Let's start with the doors. For some of your doors, you might want to have stairs leading up. That's a rectangle with a smaller rectangle on top. Kind of looks like a stacked cake. And then a door on top. You could do a rectangle door or a round top door or a double door. Your door could even have a window in it. Up to you. In each building, we'll try to do a slightly different kind of door. The doors also don't have to be right in the middle of the building. On some buildings, the doors are on the side. I'm going to make this one a double door. And this one too. This one has like the bar handles that you can push, kind of like Hilltop has that kind of door in the front. Do another one with stairs. And one last rectangle one over here. There. Now, once we've got a whole bunch of different kinds of really fun doors on our cityscape, you could think about what you might want to add around the door. Before we add the windows, maybe we need to add a sign because, well, let's make this building. Maybe you want to have a school or an ice cream store or a pizza shop. It's up to you, but if you'd like to add some signs to your cityscape buildings, go right ahead. You can also add little extra fun details like a door frame that's got some stripes on it, make it a little more exciting looking. You could add a window that's right next to the door, kind of that very front window of the shop. Let's see. You don't have to add a sign to every single door, but you can if you want. So I got my school, I got my library. I definitely need a candy store. Probably right next to the school so that the kids can get the candy whenever they want. Make that sign a little fancier. And if you need to get caught up before I go to the next step, go ahead and pause this video so you can catch up. Once we've added the doors and the signs for our buildings, it's time for the windows. Windows seem boring, but I think they're super exciting because you can actually make each type of window on a different building. Each type of building has a different window. So maybe on this building, I have some really small windows, little squares. But maybe on the next building, I've got some round top windows. And maybe the next one's got long rectangles. You can add window panes inside. You can also try some tall, skinny windows. All right, looking good. So now that we've got the buildings done, it's time to add some detail with our markers. Markers are great because they've got such skinny tips you can color in small areas or large areas. I'm going to start with my yellow and color in these windows so it looks like people are home, the lights are on. If you wanted to have one or two black windows, like the lights are off, maybe everybody already went to bed, you could do that, but I would say mostly yellow windows is probably good, even yellow in the door windows. I'm using the thick side of my marker to color in thicker lines. and the skinny tip of my marker when I need to color in a smaller shape. Once we've colored in all the windows, now we can color in the doors. Feel free to do that however you'd like. You can make some funky color doors or realistic colored doors. I'm making my stairs gray so they look like cement. Oh, I just realized my doors are red and green. That could be fun for the upcoming holidays. But you can do whatever colors you like. Once the doors are colored in, you might want to color in the signs too, since those are smaller details. A door frame here. And once you are done with the doors and the signs, now we can get out our crayons. Crayons are great for coloring in some of those empty spaces that we see that are big, that would take a long time to color in with markers. So you can take out your crayons, and instead of using the tip, I like to lean my crayon back, and then I can go a little faster when I'm coloring in those buildings. I'm going to color in all these buildings and pause my recording. You can pause too while you color your buildings in. All right, so now hopefully you've colored in your buildings with crayon, all those empty spaces, and now we're going to use some blues and purples. First, I'm going to use my light blue to make some footprints in the snow that look like they're leading up to these places. You could maybe make it look like someone left their house and walked over to the library. Wouldn't it be awesome to live next door to the library? Oh my gosh, I could read books anytime I want. There we go. Maybe somebody was walking this way. All right, and then with our blues and purples, we can also make some beautiful designs in the sky. We'll paint the sky with our watercolors, but it's always fun to add a little bit of winter wind to our cityscape. It's been very windy the last couple days. Adding some big swirls. And maybe I'll add some little swirls here in a moment too. Press hard with that crayon so that even when we paint, it shows through. And then lastly, before we paint, let's get our white crayons out, and we're going to color in the snow that's on the roofs, but also the snow that we're going to put in the sky. Press really hard when you're coloring with this white crayon. Don't break it, but press pretty hard, because this crayon will create kind of like a wax barrier. Remember, crayons are waterproof, so this will kind of protect any paint from leaking into our buildings. So not only can we color in the roof snow, but now I'm going to use my white to add little dots all over the sky, pressing really hard and kind of twisting my crayon a bit. They won't show up now because the paper's white and our crayon's white, but as soon as we add some purple or blue paint into the sky, those little white dots will show through. It'll be super magical. Be a little winter wonderland up in here, guys. I'm gonna put some of my snowflakes like in the swirls too. That's kind of fun. wintry, snowy wind. All right. Now we're ready to put away our crayons and get out our watercolors, my favorite. Just make sure that your cup of water is not near your iPad. Really try to make sure that you're not going to spill. And then once you're ready and you get your little cup of water and your beautiful paints out, we can start to paint that sky. Remember, we rinse. Wow, that's some dirty water. Miss Hans needs some fresh water, doesn't she? Rinse, scrape on the edge of your cup gently, and swirl in purple or blue. It's up to you. And we're just going to fill in this whole sky. You could paint the swirls. You could paint just beautiful cloudy shapes. You can really paint that however you like. The main goal, though, is to make sure that we don't leave any empty white spots. We don't want to have just an empty sky. We want to make sure that things are colored in. And if the colors blend and smear, all the better. That's really what makes watercolors so fun. You can also try getting the paper wet before you paint on it. So right now I'm just using my clean brush, just plain water, and getting the sky wet. Just with plain water. You can't see it, but getting that sky a little wet first. And then, once the sky is all covered in a thin layer of water, I can add some beautiful color to it, and that color will spread all over the place. Now I'm just kind of making purpley clouds, some blue clouds here and there, and letting those colors really blend. I'm not trying to make it perfect. I'm just kind of having fun. It's like playing in puddles. Doing really short little swirly brush strokes. I'm not doing long smooth ones. Ooh, my paint's kind of bubbly. That's cool. I want some spots to be like blobs of purple and other spots to be blobs of blue. Just have fun with it. If you have a different idea, try it. That's what art's all about. Doing experiments. Seeing what happens, being different. You don't have to be just like me or anybody else. Beautiful. Now, if you really want to add a little bit of extra fun, my snow didn't show up a ton, and that's fine. I don't mind. But if I want to make a little extra snow, something fun you can do is rinse, scrape, and then I'm going to splat a little bit of just plain water. So to do that, you hold out one finger, put the wet brush on top, and flick it down. So I just push that brush down, just the tip, flick it down. Now nothing too much happens at first, but those little dots of water, those little droplets, will soak up the paint around them and create some kind of cool texture, some kind of dotty designs on here that will look even cooler once it's dry. So that is our beautiful winter landscape. Let's go back to me here. I hope you had so much fun making this. Please, 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 please send me a picture. I want to see it. Send me a picture. I promise I will leave you a comment. It might even be a video comment. You might get a video from me, or maybe a little audio clip. So send me that picture. I would love to see it. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I'll see you next time, guys.